You're sitting in your apartment on a Tuesday night, scrolling through job listings. You have a degree in international relations. You picked up a minor in Arabic because your advisor said it would open doors. You've applied to 30 jobs in the last 2 months. Consulting firms, think tanks, NGOs, government agencies. Nobody's called you back. Then you find it. A listing on the CIA website. Operations officer. The description is vague on purpose. Collect foreign intelligence, conduct covert operations, serve your country in ways that matter. There's no salary listed. There's no office location. There's just a button that says apply. You click it. The application is long. They want everything. Every address you've lived at since you were 18, every country you've visited, every foreign contact you've ever had. Have you ever used illegal drugs? Have you ever been arrested? Have you ever had any financial problems? Do you have any relatives living abroad? You spend 3 hours filling it out. You click submit. You close your laptop. Then you wait. For months go by. You forget about it. You take a job at a consulting firm because rent is due. Then one morning, your phone rings, a blocked number. A woman with a calm voice asks if you're still interested in the position you applied for. She doesn't say which position. She doesn't say CIA. She asks if you can come to Northern Virginia for a preliminary interview. You say yes. You don't tell anyone where you're going. The building looks like any other office park. No signs, no logos. A man in a blue blazer meets you in the lobby. He walks you to a windowless room with a table and 2 chairs. He asks you questions for 3 hours. Where did you grow up? What languages do you speak? What motivates you? Tell me about a time you persuaded someone to do something they didn't want to do. The questions feel random, but they're not. He's building a profile. He's looking for traits, adaptability, comfort with ambiguity, the ability to lie without flinching. You don't realize you're being tested for that last one, but you are. Then comes the polygraph. You sit in a chair with wires attached to your chest, your fingertips, your abdomen. A technician asks you questions while watching a screen you can't see. Have you ever committed a crime? Have you ever leaked confidential information? Have you ever had contact with a foreign intelligence service? Your palms sweat. Your mouth goes dry. You answer honestly because you're convinced the machine will catch you if you don't. It won't. But you don't know that. 6 weeks later, you get a phone call. You've been accepted into the clandestine service trainee program. Report to a location that will be sent to you via secure message. Tell your family you got a government job. Don't say which agency. Don't say which building. Don't say anything at all. Your old life ended with that phone call. You just don't know it yet. They send you to a facility in Virginia that everyone calls the farm. Thousands of acres of forests and swamps and training buildings surrounded by fences and cameras. For the next 18 months, this is your entire world. You wake up at 5 a.m. You run before breakfast. You sit in classrooms learning about foreign governments and intelligence history and something called tradecraft, the agency's word for spy skills, the art of operating without being detected. You learn surveillance detection, how to spot the car that's been behind you for 4 turns, how to notice the person who was at the coffee shop this morning and is now on a bench outside your hotel. You learn to see patterns that normal people miss. You learn how to lose a tail. You walk into a shopping mall, take the escalator up 3 floors, cut through a department store, exit through a fire door, and disappear into a waiting car that drives you to a safe house. You memorize the address of that morning. You learn to pick locks. You learn to photograph documents in under 30 seconds. You learn to plant listening devices in objects that no one would ever think to check: a pen, a power strip, a picture frame. You learn dead drops, how to leave a package in a hollowed-out brick in a wall at a park at exactly 3:15 p.m. and walk away without looking back, how to retrieve a message taped under a park bench without breaking stride, how to signal a contact using chalk marks on a mailbox or a specific arrangement of objects on a windowsill. Everything is designed to look like nothing. That's the whole point. You learn disguise. Not Hollywood disguise with latex masks and voice changers. Real disguise. A change of posture. A different gait. Glasses that change the shape of your face. A hat that breaks your silhouette. You learn that most people don't actually look closely at anyone, and the ones who do are looking for patterns, not features. Change the pattern, and you become invisible. You learn the most important skill of all, recruitment. Convincing a foreign national to betray their country and work for you. You study human psychology. You learn the 4 motivations: money, ideology, coercion, ego. Everyone who has ever committed espionage did it for one of those reasons. Your job is to figure out which one applies to your target and use it. You run practice operations in cities across Virginia and Maryland. Your instructors play the role of foreign intelligence officers trying to catch you. If they catch you 3 times, you're washed out. The failure rate is around 40%. Some people can't handle the pressure. Some people can't lie convincingly enough. Some people discover they have a conscience that won't bend the way the job requires. The ones who make it aren't the smartest or the toughest. They're the ones who can compartmentalize, who can do something morally questionable at 2 p.m. and sit down to dinner with their classmates at 6 like nothing happened. You graduate near the top of your class. They give you a badge and a cover identity and a posting overseas. You are now a CIA case officer. Your first assignment is an embassy in the Middle East, a country that is technically an ally but practically a question mark. Officially, you're a political officer attached to the diplomatic mission. Your name is on the embassy roster. You have a desk and a computer and a title that means nothing. You attend receptions and dinners and shake hands with government officials and military officers and business leaders while silently cataloging everything about them. Who drinks too much? Who complains about their salary? Who travels to countries they shouldn't be traveling to? Who seems ideologically sympathetic? Who seems angry at their own government? Your real job is to recruit assets. An asset is anyone with access to information the United States wants. A defense ministry official who sees classified briefings. A military officer who knows where weapons are stored. A telecommunications worker who can access phone records. A banker who handles accounts for people on a sanctions list. A secretary who opens the mail for a general. A driver who takes an intelligence chief to meetings and listens to his phone calls. Anyone with access is a potential target. You identify them. You study them. You learn their habits, their routines, their vulnerabilities. You read their social media. You learn the names of their wives and children and parents. You figure out what they want and what they're afraid of. Then you engineer reasons to meet them. A conference, a dinner party, a chance encounter at a gym that is not a chance encounter at all. Every interaction looks natural. Nothing is natural. Everything is planned weeks in advance and rehearsed in your head 100 times before you walk through the door. Your first recruitment takes 7 months. He's a mid-level official in the Interior Ministry. He has access to intelligence on local militant groups. He also has a daughter who needs surgery that costs more than his annual salary. You meet him through a mutual contact. You have coffee, then lunch, then dinner. You build a friendship. You offer to help with his daughter's medical bills. No strings attached. Except there are always strings. 3 months later, you ask him to share some documents. Nothing major, just reports on local security operations. He hesitates. You remind him how much the surgery cost. He agrees. You now have an asset inside the Interior Ministry. You file a cable to headquarters. Your supervisors are satisfied. You've proven you can do the job. The moral weight of what you just did, exploiting a father's desperation to save his child, is something you'll think about later. Right now, you have another target to assess. They offer you a transfer after 3 years, not to another embassy, to something called non-official cover, NOC, pronounced knock. It's the most dangerous assignment in the intelligence community. You will have no diplomatic immunity, no embassy to retreat to, no government ID, nothing connecting you to the United States in any way. If you're caught, the CIA will say they've never heard of you. The State Department will say you're not one of theirs. You will face prosecution under local laws. In some countries, that means a trial. In others, that means a cell. In others, that means you disappear and no one ever finds out what happened to you. They build you a legend, a complete false identity with a backstory, a work history, a social media presence, and a job at a company that is actually a CIA front. The company is real. It has offices and employees and clients. None of them know what it really is. You travel under your cover identity. You live under your cover identity. Your landlord thinks you're a consultant. Your friends think you travel for business. Your family thinks you left the government years ago. The only people who know the truth are your handlers at Langley, and you haven't seen them in person in over a year. All communication goes through encrypted channels and dead drops. You are alone in a way that most people will never understand. You operate in countries where the United States has no official intelligence presence. You meet sources that no embassy officer could ever approach. You recruit assets in places where being caught means death. You attend business meetings and trade conferences and cocktail parties in capital cities where the security services are watching every foreigner who enters the country. You smile and shake hands and make deals that will never close because the deals aren't real. The relationships are real. The intelligence they produce is real. Everything else is theater. You live this way for years. You never break character. You never slip. You carry the loneliness like a second skin. You can't call your mother on her birthday from your real phone because your real phone doesn't exist in this country. You celebrate holidays alone in apartments that feel temporary because everything in your life is temporary. Some days you forget who you actually are. That's when you know you're good at this. That's also when you know it's costing you something you might not get back. They pull you out of NOC work after a close call in Southeast Asia. A local security service started following you. They photographed you meeting an asset in a market. You spotted the surveillance and aborted, but it was close enough that your cover is compromised. You can never go back to that region. They offer you a new path, the Special Activities Center. This is the CIA's paramilitary division, the people who go where the military can't go and do things that can never be officially acknowledged. You go through 6 months of the most intense combat training on the planet. Small unit tactics, close quarters battle, explosives, demolitions, every weapons platform manufactured in the last 50 years. High-altitude parachute jumps where you exit the aircraft at 25,000 feet and free fall for 2 minutes before deploying your chute. Combat diving. Survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. Your instructors are former Delta and SEAL Team 6 operators who now work for the agency. They don't care about your recruitment skills. They care about whether you can function under fire without getting your team killed. Your first deployment is in a country that the United States is not officially operating in. You're part of a small team for agency officers and a handful of local fighters whose loyalty is uncertain. You spend weeks in the field, sleeping in safe houses in abandoned buildings. You track targets. You call in strikes. You watch through optics as missiles hit compounds and wonder if the intelligence was right this time. Sometimes it is. The target is there. Bad people stop breathing. Sometimes it isn't. The target is somewhere else, and the people in that building were just people. You try not to think about the times it's wrong. You can't afford to. There's another target tomorrow. You do this for 3 years. You are shot at, blown up, and nearly captured twice. You receive a medal that has no name for a mission that never happened in a country where you were never present. Your family has no idea where you've been or why you flinch at loud noises now. You don't explain. You're promoted to lead your own unit. 8 operators who answer to you. Their lives are your responsibility. Every decision you make could get someone killed or keep everyone alive. There is no middle ground. Your team is deployed to a country that is falling apart. A civil war. Multiple factions fighting for control. Weapons are flooding the black market. Your mission is to locate and secure a specific cache of weapons before a terrorist organization gets to them first. You spend weeks operating at night, sleeping during the day in shifts, rotating safe houses every 48 hours. You bribe local commanders for information. You interrogate sources who might be telling the truth or might be feeding you disinformation to walk you into an ambush. You never know which it is until you act on the intelligence and find out. You locate the cache in a warehouse on the outskirts of a city that changes hands between factions every other week. Your team raids it at 3 a.m. You find more than you expected, enough material to cause a catastrophe in the wrong hands. You destroy it in place because there's no safe way to move it. You rig the building and burn everything. On your exfiltration, your convoy is hit. One of your operators is killed. 2 are wounded. You drag a man who weighs 220 pounds to the extraction point while rounds crack past you in the dark. The helicopter lands. You get out. The mission is classified as a success. You write a letter to the family of the man who died. The letter is a lie. You can't say where he was or what he was doing or how he died. You write it anyway. You owe him that much. 15 years in the field. Your body is paying the price. A knee that locks up in cold weather from a bad landing. A shoulder that hasn't worked right since a fall in the mountains. Tinnitus that never stops from being too close to too many detonations. You're 44 and you feel 60. The doctors say no more field work, too many concussions, too much accumulated damage. They offer you chief of station, the senior CIA officer in an entire country. Every operation, every asset, every piece of intelligence flows through you. You manage dozens of officers and hundreds of local sources. You meet with the ambassador every morning. You liaise with local intelligence services, some of whom are allies, some of whom are adversaries pretending to be allies, and some of whom are assets you personally recruited a decade ago. You approve operations that could cause international incidents if they fail. You shut down operations that could yield valuable intelligence but carry too much risk. Every decision is a calculation. Every success is classified. Every failure appears in newspapers with your name nowhere near it, but your fingerprints all over it. You sleep 4 hours a night. Your marriage ended during your second overseas tour. Your kids are in college. They know you as the parent who is always traveling, always unavailable, always somewhere you couldn't explain. They know the cover story version of you. They don't know the real one. You're not sure you do either. Back at Langley headquarters, the building you first entered 20 years ago as a nervous applicant in a cheap suit. Now you walk past the memorial wall in the lobby, stars carved into white marble. Each one represents an officer who died in service. Some of them were your friends. Some of them died on operations you planned. You run an entire division of the National Clandestine Service. Hundreds of officers report to you. Thousands of assets around the world feed intelligence into your network. A black budget measured in billions flows through accounts that don't appear in any public record. You brief the director. You brief the president. You sit in the Situation Room with the Secretary of Defense and the National Security Advisor and discuss operations that will never be declassified in your lifetime. You recommend targets. You authorize missions in countries where the United States is not supposed to be operating. You sign off on activities that exist in a legal gray area that gets darker the closer you look. You testify before congressional intelligence committees, but the real conversations happen in closed sessions with no transcripts. The senators ask questions. You give answers that are true but carefully incomplete. They don't press. They want plausible deniability. You give it to them. Everyone plays their role. The machine keeps running. You retire after 28 years. There's a ceremony in a conference room at Langley. 50 people attend. The director gives a speech about sacrifice and service and the cost of freedom. You receive the Distinguished Intelligence Cross, the highest award the agency gives. It will sit in a box in your closet for the rest of your life because you can't display it. You can't tell anyone what you did to earn it. You can't tell anyone what you did at all. You sign non-disclosure agreements that bind you until the day you die. Everything you did, everything you saw, everything you know is classified. You move to a quiet house in Virginia. You don't have many friends left. The people you served with are scattered or dead. The people you knew before the agency are strangers. You can't explain the gaps in your resume. You can't explain the scars. You can't explain why you check the locks 3 times before bed, or why you sit facing the door in every restaurant, or why you wake up at 3 a.m. and walk the perimeter of your property, scanning for threats that aren't there. Your pension is generous. Your health care is covered. The government takes care of its own, at least financially. But no one takes care of the memories. The assets who were caught and executed because a mole in Washington sold their names. The operation that went wrong in a country you can never talk about. The interrogation rooms, the bodies, the decisions you made at 35 that you can still feel at 60. None of it was ever officially acknowledged. None of it ever will be. You are a ghost. You served your country in ways that most citizens would not believe and many would not approve of. You did things that kept people safe who will never know your name. You made decisions in dark rooms in foreign countries that changed the course of events in ways that will never appear in any history book. You sacrificed your marriage, your health, your peace of mind, and decades of your life. And the only evidence that any of it happened is a star on a wall and a medal in a box that you can never show to anyone. You carry that weight alone. You'll carry it until you die. And when you die, there will be a star carved into a marble wall in a lobby in Virginia. No name, just a star. One more anonymous mark in a war that doesn't end. Somewhere right now, a kid in a college dorm room is scrolling through the CIA website. They're 22 years old with a degree they're not sure what to do with and a restless feeling that their life is supposed to be bigger than the cubicle they're heading toward. They're reading about operations officers and clandestine service and the chance to serve their country in ways that matter. They're imagining something out of a movie, the action and the intrigue and the importance of it all. They're not imagining the loneliness. They're not imagining the moral weight. They're not imagining the 3 a.m. silence of a house in Virginia where a retired officer sits alone with memories that will never be declassified. They click apply. They have no idea what they just started. They'll learn. They always do. The cycle begins.